Let's be clear. You don't want to know me. You're not looking for understanding. You're looking for access. You want to figure out how to disarm me, how to shapeshift me into something more manageable, something that doesn't challenge your narrative or disrupt your comfort. You test my boundaries like it's a game, push my buttons like you're assembling something custom. See how far you can poke before I snap, because that moment, that reaction, makes you feel powerful. You don't care about what makes me laugh, what stirs my thoughts, what lights me up from the inside out. You just want silence when I speak, absence when I arrive, a version of me that's easier to manage, easier to overlook. The smarter I get, the more you want me to hush. The stronger I become, the more you want me to fold. Because every inch I grow makes you feel smaller. And rather than rise up, you'd rather drag me back down to a size you can handle. So, I went on a date the other night, and this grown man, decided to spend the entire evening giving a masterclass on what it means to be a woman. Apparently, I missed the orientation because he had the blueprint. According to him, a real woman is soft, gentle, nurturing. You know, the kind of poetic nonsense they pass around on Instagram. And just like that, it was a whole podcast episode. He wasn't offering insight, he was offering instructions. Instructions on how to shrink, how to be pliable, like Play Doh fresh out the can, malleable enough to be molded into whatever shape satisfies him. And that's when I clocked it. He wasn't interested in who I am, what I've built, what I've learned, or how I move through this world. He wanted an idea, one that wouldn't question, challenge, or rise too far above his comfort zone. And here's the gag: they expect us to evolve with the world, adapt to tech, politics, global shifts, and hustle culture. But when it comes to womanhood, they want it frozen in time, vintage, untouched, uncomplicated. And let's be real, the idea of submission isn't about respect. It's about setting boundaries they can dictate so they don't feel overshadowed. If unchallenged, they can keep up the illusion of being infallible. But why submit to someone who chooses to see you as less capable than you are? Or to someone who fails to recognize that the parts of ourselves we build on our own are all we truly have? Why give in to someone who wants you to erase any part of yourself, leaving you only a fraction of who you are? But if only it were just men. Nah, some of the loudest silencers I've ever met were women. Women who wanted me dim, dulled, diluted, and digestible. The kind of friend who's only comfortable with you as long as you don't sparkle too loud or shine too bright. They didn't want me bold, they wanted me background. Just enough presence to be polite, not enough to be noticed. Be agreeable, not admired. Be present, but don't outshine. And absolutely do not look too confident, too secure, or too damn sure of yourself. Because the moment you take up space, you become a problem. Suddenly, you're too much, too ambitious, too outspoken, too visible. You're not one of the girls, you're a problem. They didn't want me, they wanted a shadow. Someone standing next to them, but never outshining them. Someone insecure enough to be controllable, small enough to be non-threatening, and polite enough to never reflect their own self-doubt back at them. someone who makes them feel comfortable and superior without challenging their insecurities. And then there's family, from whence all trauma came. The ones who think DNA gives them the right to dictate your identity like it's a family heirloom. They're not interested in who you've become, only in who they imagined you'd stay. They don't see your battles. They don't acknowledge the wisdom you earned or the strength you forged. They just want you to remain a neat little replica, a quiet continuation of their comfort zone. The version of you that never questions, never deviates, never demands more than they were willing to give. Because if you step outside their blueprint, if you evolve into someone they never accounted for, you become a mirror, one that reflects the limitations they never challenged. And that's too loud for their silence. So when you break the mold, set new tones, and dare to unlearn what they never questioned, it doesn't feel like growth to them. It feels like betrayal. But you weren't born to be a generational photocopy. You were born to be a plot twist. This roast ain't done, so let me cook. Your boss, my boss, our boss. They don't care how sharp you are, how much you contribute, or how many fires you quietly put out. They care about one thing. Can you be shaped into their ideal yes person? Are you agreeable enough to never question them? Quiet enough to blend in, but productive enough to carry the team? Obedient enough to stroke their ego, but invisible enough not to outshine it? If you follow blindly, you're a team player. But the moment you think critically, you're difficult. You advocate for yourself, you're too much. You speak with confidence, suddenly you're intimidating. It's not about performance, it's about control. Because if you don't threaten their comfort, you're tolerated. But if you ever make them look in the mirror, you're a threat. And threats must be neutralized. People want you to fade into the background, not because you're invisible, because you're too bright. They stare from the sidelines, dripping in envy, hoping their opinions will drown out your own, so they can shrink you into a dull wallflower and wear your essence like it was theirs all along. Your ideas stolen, your style mimicked, your vibe repackaged. They treat you like nothing, not because they believe it, but because they hope you will. Let's be clear. You don't want to know me. You're not looking for understanding, you're looking for access. But here's the thing: you'll never figure out how to break me because you never cared to know me. You were too busy trying to edit the version of me that you thought you could control. Well, that's all for today, folks. When did you realize someone wasn't supporting you? They were just studying you. Let's vent.